The 2024 U-20 Concacaf Championship kicks off on July 20th, and there's a lot on the line. There are 12 teams in the competition, 3 groups of 4. If you get out of your group, you make it to the quarterfinals, and if you win that match, you will qualify for the 2025 U-20 World Cup in Chile, and it will be the first time Canada, if they're able to qualify, would do so since 2007, and they didn't even have to qualify for that competition because they were the host. So today, Alex and I are coming together to come up with 5 players we believe you should keep an eye on. And we're going to start between the sticks with Gregoire Zwiderski, who is a U19 keeper for Bordeaux. And Alex, the nice thing is during the 2 friendlies with the Canadian national team where they took on the Netherlands and France, that France match was in Bordeaux. So Zwiderski was able to join up with the team. He got experience with the main camp, and Jesse Marsh got a good look at him.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, a lot been made this week of Jesse Marsh and tracking dual nationals and throwing out, estimates of numbers of guys he's looking at. You have to imagine Gregor Swiderski might be on the list, given that Jesse Marsh has already tracked him and brought him into a camp just to get a look at him. Of course, part of that is convenience that camp was based in Bordeaux where he plays. But I think it's a good sign for the young goalkeeper Swiderski, who's been playing for Bordeaux's U19s. He's gotten some call-ups to the first teams, hasn't made his debut for them. But as we know, for a goalkeeper, it always takes time to develop. You have to remember he is just 18. It's going to be hopefully, some key years of development before he can start to push his way into a first team environment. But it makes him exciting to see what he can do for this U20 team, to see that he's been in that pro group, that he's been able to learn and can come in and bring a bit of that experience. And of course, it is exciting that he's a dual national, because these sorts of tournaments can be massive for guys long term to see appreciation being shown by these different federations, and for Canada, the fact that they've shown him a senior camp and now they'll likely give him a good run in goal in the U20s is exciting.
It'll go a long way. And that's why these tournaments are so important, like you mentioned, because we can get different dual nats in to have a look. And Alex, you know what? A first team role for Zwiderski might come sooner than we think, because Bordeaux have huge financial issues going on right now. So probably don't have a ton of money to bring in positions, especially one where they have a youngster like Zwiderski. So I would love the idea to see him next year with Bordeaux in Ligue 2. And hopefully, if he's able to push that starting spot, great. But just to be with that first team as a backup keeper, I think will go a long way. The second player we are going to look at is Adam Perlman, who is a center back playing for TFC2, where he's made 62 appearances. He's also made his MLS debut in 2023. And as you'll see with some of these players, he is a dual nat. He's eligible to represent Canada as well as South Africa. Alex, he's going to be a huge part to this Canadian back line, and I think he's going to take on a big leadership role.
Absolutely. I mean, the huge thing for players in this U20 age range, it's great if they're able to break into professional setups and get minutes. So the fact that Perlman's already got 62 appearances to his name with Toronto FC2 is huge. The fact that he's already gotten a first team debut as a reward for his play, with TFC's second team is also a positive indicator. And there's a lot to like. I mean, he brings some good skills to the table, where he's been a good passer for TFC2. He's been growing a lot on the defensive side. It's not easy to play that sort of heavy workload as a defender at that age. So that's a good sign, and the growth he's been able to have over the last few years. So I'd expect him to be heavily relied upon for this U20 team at the back. That sort of experience can be invaluable among a young group, especially when other guys don't have, that sort of professional experience. So keep an eye on what Perlman can bring. And hey, the dual national aspect's always, of course, a bonus, and will be exciting to see him represent Canada this tournament.
The next player we're taking a look at is Kadim Kane from Forge FC. Kane has made 23 appearances for Forge. He's the only CPL player we are highlighting on this list, but I think he'd play a big role in this tournament.
Yeah, no, it should be exciting to see what he can do in that midfield position. It's obviously interesting to see that he's been getting good minutes at Forge, because Forge have done a pretty good job of, developing players, advancing them, making sure they get opportunities. So it's been intriguing to see Bobby Simeonis trust Kadim Kane as one of his U21s over the last few years to help him accumulate minutes. And you can see in games that there's a lot of potential there with Kadim Kane. He can really, be a very influential box-to-box midfielder. He's got a lot of confidence on the ball. And then, of course, they're working on growing him defensively. That's, you see with guys like Ojabo, Port Becker, et cetera, at Forge. That's what you need to be a midfielder. You need to be able to be responsible at both ends. But for this Canadian team. I'm excited to see what he can bring in terms of like a box to box role, because those sorts of guys are always very valuable in tournament settings. You need guys who can push the ball from defense to attack, and I think it's been encouraging to see Kane's development, especially that he's been trusting some pretty big games, Canadian Championship, Concacaf Champions Cup. Have to imagine that heading into the rest of the season for Forge, maybe even he gets to make his playoff debut this year, and a strong U20 tournament would certainly help him as he continues to develop.
Absolutely, growing in confidence, playing professionally. Now, the one issue I think with Kane will face in this tournament is that we have depth in this area, Alex. He's competing with Costa, Badwall, Biello. They all have kind of different profiles. Costa's a little bit more as that 10, Biello a little bit more that 6. But Badwall is one that I think that he's going to really have to compete with. But regardless, that's the player that we are going to look at next. Alex, I know you're very excited to talk about him because he's playing for the Whitecaps too. He's made 22 appearances for them, 1 appearance with the main team because he's been so good. I know you're excited to focus on him, and I'm expecting him to probably start and probably play almost every minute in this tournament.
Yeah, this Whitecaps 2 team's been on fire as of late, and Badwall's played his role in that in midfield, and now he's up to 22 appearances since he made his debut last year. Which is not bad at all for a young midfielder to step in, because that Whitecaps 2 team is pretty experienced. They've put a lot of their use or not use for their NCAA draft picks or just unsigned players. They've all thrown them in there. It's a bit more of an experienced group. So for Badwall to break through at his age is a good sign. And the fact that he's been rewarded recently with a first team debut in the Canadian Championship, I think that's also another encouraging sign. And he played a huge role for Canada in the U17 cycle. He was a rock in that midfield. He's one of their best players at the U17 World Cup. I think this is a natural progression for him to step up and be a key leader in the U20s, especially that Andrew Olivieri knows that he can rely on him, having done so in the past. I think that's all super encouraging, and just the profile is super exciting. Like he's a midfielder who knows how to get on the ball. He knows how to make the right decisions. Sometimes as a midfielder, as a player, as a youngster, you can want to rush things. You want to make the Hollywood pass all the time, the big ball over the top, the big switch. For Badwall, sometimes when he's at his best, it's keeping the ball short. It's keeping the ball simple, which as a midfielder is not a bad thing at all, because it keeps the play flowing. It gets your teammates involved. So I'd expect a lot of that, and it's intriguing to see who Badwall ends up pairing with, because there could be some fun combinations between some of those players you mentioned, like a Badwall, a Kane, a Costa. Maybe there's Biello as well, who's recently made his MLS debut. Like there could be some fun combinations. Maybe Olivieri goes heavy in the midfield because of all that.
The qualifying matches, I learned a lot about him because you told me before those games, keep an eye out for him. And I'm going to just kind of echo a little bit what you said. I just love seeing every time he's on the ball. He knew exactly what to do. He was very aware of his surroundings. He made some good driving runs. He's an excellent passer, and I think he's got very high footballing IQ. I think he's going to have he's already had a pretty big breakout in those qualifying matches, but I think he's going to be in for a massive tournament. And I can't wait to watch him. The final player we are highlighting today is striker Santiago Lopez, who is another dual national. He's eligible to represent both Mexico and Canada. He's actually represented Mexico at the U18 and 19 levels, and he's now representing Canada at the U20s. He plays for Pumas, where he's made 2 appearances for the first team, and he's lit up the U18s as well. This is a player I'm very excited about. I learned a lot about him as well in the qualifying tournament because he was probably my player of that qualifying tournament, watching him on the ball, his technical ability, the way he was able to link up. He was strong. He was passionate. And we actually talked to Andrew Olivieri as well. And we asked him about Santiago Lopez, and he basically said, he's excited to have him in this group and that he's up for this challenge and he's up to playing for this Canadian team. So Alex, he's the player that I'm definitely probably the most excited to keep seeing how he progresses. And I know that he's one that you're interested in as well.
Yeah, he's one of the big standouts of that U20 qualifiers for this tournament, and certainly because of that, you're intrigued to see what he can now do in this big clutch tournament, because he showed a bit of a desire to want to step up in the big games, to be combative, to be feisty, but also, of course, bring immense skill, and it's a nice balance where you kind of see that on the Canadian senior national team, right? You want that this new Canadian team, they've got skilled guys, but they've also got guys who are willing to they're not willing to back down, say, right? Like they want to play. And I think Lopez really impressed with that mentality, but no doubt he's a very skilled striker. You could see with some of the finishes, some of the things he was attempting. And of course, for Canada, if they're going to have any hope of qualifying, defense is important, as I mentioned, especially in this tournament with this format. there's a possibility of third place teams. It encourages cagey play, but also feels like for Canada in a lot of these past youth tournaments, it comes down to, can they get that goal? Can they get that goal? And often there isn't a guy to step up and get that goal. But just looking at how Lopez stepped up in those qualifiers, he seems to be someone who will want to go out there and get that goal. And hopefully he can do that, because it would go a long way for this Canadian team. And for what it's worth, Olivieri did also in that same press conference highlight that he felt really, really confident in the attacking group in this team. He said in past cycles they've struggled to get some of the names they've wanted for various reasons, and he really liked the guys he was able to get. And I think Lopez is, one of the big names for a reason, right? The fact that he's in a Liga MX environment, it's a pressure cooker there. Like, that sort of stuff sharpens metal, and I think Lopez will come out pretty good for it.
Absolutely, Alex. Lopez has 3 goals in 4 matches for the U20s. I've really enjoyed watching him. And I think he's a bit of a statement, because at the youth level, Mexico is a top-notch nation. So to have Lopez want to play for Canada after representing Mexico is big. I think it will go a long way. And one of my favorite moments watching him in the qualifying tournament was when there was a little bit of feistiness going around. Lopez was right in there sticking up for his teammates. He can do it on the aggression side of things. He can do it on the ball, scoring, and just looking fantastic. And I think he will be one of the most important players for this Canadian team. But I want to hear from you guys down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about the 5 players we highlighted. Is there any players that we missed that you would have liked us to mention? And of course, as always, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub. We'll see you guys soon. Cheers, friends.